Greetings, fellow Warlocks. I'm your host, Journeyman Zero, and this is Baldur, a Circle Orboros Warlock with two variants, Baldur the Stonecleaver and Baldur the Stone Soul. Baldur the Stonecleaver, or Baldur 1, is a Circle, black-clad, scout, secret Dominion Warlock. Like all Warlocks, he costs no points and his field allowance is character, meaning you can only ever have a single Baldur 1 in your force. He has 17 health points, stands on a 30mm base, and possesses the model advantage Pathfinder. He is speed 5 with an arcane attack of 6, martial attack of 7, defense of 14, armor of 16, arcane of 6, and a control range of 12 inches. He is a bit slow, hits relatively well, and is quite durable. He has two special abilities, Elemental Mastery and Forced Walk. With Elemental Mastery, Construct Warbeasts in his battle group, beginning their activation in his control range, can charge and make power attacks without being forced. He can also heal the Construct Warbeasts in his battle group. With this, Construct Warbeasts like the Wold Warden or the Wold Guardian are a must. His personal Construct Warbeast, Megalith, is also an auto-include in my opinion, granting Baldur a D3 healing ability at the start of his activation. He can, of course, take non-Construct Warbeasts if you like, but doing so limits his function. To use Force Walk, he must first forfeit his normal movement and be completely within a forest. If he does, choose a new location completely within his control range that is completely within a forest. Remove him from the forest and place him in the new chosen location. He, of course, cannot use this ability while knocked down. Force Walk, though relying upon available terrain, is incredibly versatile, usable both defensively and offensively. It can pull Baldur out of a bad situation or set him up for more devastating maneuvers, including taking out the enemy leader under the right circumstances. As we will see in a moment, he also has a spell that makes Force Walk even more viable. He wields Tritus, a weapon with his martial attack of 7, range of 2 inches, 14 power, and damage-type magic. He can kill lighter infantry easily enough, though he may struggle against sturdier and more heavily armored opponents. Incorporeal enemies will also suffer. The real benefit of Tritus, however, is its special ability, Weight of Stone. A model damaged by this weapon suffers a -3 speed and defense for 1 round. Be mindful that you must damage the target for the ability to work, so once again, more heavily armored enemies may prove problematic. He uses 4 spells. They are Earth Spikes, a 3-cost, range 10, area effect 2 spell that is power 13 on the direct hit target and power 7 on up to 2 other targets within 2 inches. The benefit of Earth Spikes is that it ignores cover and concealment. Better still, on a critical hit, models hit become knocked down. Now, personally, I have yet to crit when using this spell. Otherwise, it is a good offensive spell, best used on low armor and low health enemies. Then we have Rapid Growth, a 2-cost, self-ranged upkeep spell. When cast, you place a 3-inch forest template anywhere completely within his 12-inch control range. Combine this with his Force Walk ability, makes him shockingly mobile, but can also be used to deny charges, protect important areas, and miniatures. Then we have Solid Ground, a 2-cost self-ranged upkeep spell. When cast, all friendly faction models cannot be knocked down or pushed and gain Resistance Blast. A very good defensive spell. This is a first-turn spell in my opinion, and you probably should upkeep it most of the game. Finally, we have Stone Skin, a 2-cost, range 6 upkeep spell. This spell targets our friendly faction models or units, giving them +2 melee attack damage roll and +2 armor, but they suffer a -1 to their speed and defense. I personally like this spell placed on Baldur's Construct Warbeasts. They already are slow to begin with, but with that extra damage and armor, more than makes up for it. I can also see him putting it on various Thorn units, or certain heavy-hitting solos like the Lord of the Feast. As you see, 3 of his 4 spells are meant to benefit his forces, exemplifying Baldur's loyalty to his people. Finally, we come to his feat, the best part of most Warlocks. It is called Broken Earth. While in his control range, friendly faction models gain cover. In addition, enemy models never have Pathfinder and treat open terrain as rough terrain. It only lasts for 1 round. His feat shows perfectly the type of man Baldur is, prioritizing protecting his people while also still fighting the enemies of Orboros. However, as great as it is, his feat has a few weaknesses. First off, miniatures with flight or other means of ignoring terrain outside Pathfinder won't be hindered by it at all. Secondly, armies focusing more on ranged attacks won't be bothered either. In my eyes, since this feat is defensive in nature, I feel one should watch what their opponent is doing, popping it to slow down and hinder their advance. Melee-focused armies will suffer, and I could see one using this feat to keep the enemy off objectives. Overall, Balder 1 is a very solid Warlock. Straightforward and deadly in his own right, he fits well with most other miniatures in Circle. His only limitations are the warbeasts he can take. While he can take living warbeasts, they lose out on the free charges and power attacks. I could see one taking a favorite warbeast, or one for the Animus if you really wanted to. In the end, it depends on your playstyle and your opponent. Now, Balder 2 is something of a different beast to his older iteration. He simply is a Circle Blacklight Warlock, having lost his Scout Secret Dominion status. He's much tougher at 18 health and retains his 30mm base and Pathfinder ability. His speed, arcane attack, and martial attack remain the same at 5, 6, and 7, while his defense has gone down to 13, but his armor has gone up to 17, making him easier to hit, but able to tank it better. His arcane stat and control area also have not changed, still at 6 and 12. He retains Elemental Mastery, making Construct Warbeasts his go-to as always, but he has lost Forest Walk. Instead, he has Devourer's Debt and the special action Ritual of Renewal, both of which play off of each other. With Devourer's Debt, you must place one Warm token on him during your control phase. He gains +1 to his melee attack damage for each token on him. At the end of his activation, he suffers 1 damage point for each token. This damage cannot be transferred. Ritual of Renewal special action removes all Warm tokens from Balder, useful for keeping him in the game. These new abilities are a double-edged sword. Any damage buff is good, but you run the risk of weakening him or worse, killing him yourself. Theoretically, a normal mission lasts 7 turns. If you do not remove the tokens, there will be 7, resulting in a +7 to his melee damage. This takes Tritus from power 14 to power 21. That's quite scary, all things considered. Not many things can generate a power 21 attack. Not many Warlocks, at least. Problem? He's taking damage each turn. In total, he'd have taken 28 damage by the end of turn 7. You'd have to heavily rely on various healing abilities to keep him safe. His own Fury, the Shifting Stones, Megalith's Bond ability. On top of that, I have never seen a Warmachine game last 7 turns. 4 and 5 is normal in my case. Overall, be wary of this ability. It could be either a great boon or a hindrance. As we've already mentioned Tritus, it should be noted that Balder and Morvana are the only Circle Warlocks that retain their original weapons in all the variants. Tritus itself, of course, is still range 2, power 14, and still has Weight of Stone, a nice little ability that we've already talked about. He still has 4 spells, with 1 being offensive and the others defensive, though, as we will see, 1 defensive spell has a little offensive twist to it. First, we have Crevasse, a 3-cost range 8 offensive spell with power 12. If you box an enemy with this spell, it generates a Spray 6 power 12 magic attack using the boxed enemy as its point of origin. Best used, in my opinion, on weaker enemies or those that are close to death. Then we have Ground Zero, a 3-cost ranged self-spell. Models within 3 inches of Balder suffer a power 13 blast damage roll. Immediately after this damage is resolved, each enemy model damaged by the spell is pushed d6 inches directly away from Balder in the order you, Balder's user, chooses. Mind you, any model, friend or foe, within 3 inches will get hit by the POW 13, but only enemies will be pushed back d6 inches. Next, we have Rock Wall, a 2-cost range control upkeep spell. You place a wall template anywhere completely within Balder's control range, where it does not touch a model's base, an obstruction, or an obstacle. The new wall grants cover and is removed from the table if it is contacted by a model with an extra large or huge base. This is a nice defensive spell, but be mindful of where you put it. And finally, we have Roots of the Earth, a 2-cost range 6 spell that lasts only 1 round. The target a friendly faction model. It gains +3 armor, cannot be knocked down, and cannot be moved or placed. I, personally, always love armor and defense buffs, and this one has the added benefit of screwing with the dreaded knockdown. Mind you, it says target-friendly faction model, thus you cannot use it on a unit. I could see you putting it on Balder himself, making him a whopping armor 21. And now, as always, we finish with the feat. Hallowed Ground. Friendly faction models currently in Balder's control range are affected by Roots of the Earth for 1 round. So, everyone within 12 inches gets +3 armor, can't be knocked down, and can't be pushed around. I find it interesting that Balder 2's new feat only affects his friends, not his enemies. Overall, Balder 2 is similar to Balder 1 in the fact that he protects his friends but screws with the enemy just a tiny bit. He does lack Balder 1's weakness in the form of his feet, but those worm tokens must be monitored carefully. I recommend using Ritual of Renewal after you get 3 or more. The damage Balder 2 will suffer can put him at high risk, though seeing him weakened may also be a tempting target to bait your opponent into doing something foolish. Now, what do you think of Balder the Stone Cleaver and Balder the Stone Soul? Do you enjoy playing them? What about fighting against them? If I've missed anything, underestimated, or overestimated, please let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and remember to manage your fury.